So you're wanting to become faster, build up that speed in your own style of martial arts, have that elusive hand-eye coordination. Of course you are. So we're going to talk about the empty-handed part of Hubud today. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it. Welcome to Shihan's Dojo. I'm Shihan Marty Husband, and I'm here today to help you with your martial arts skills and knowledge, or if you're wanting to learn the martial arts, to let you know a little more about them. So if you're here for the first time or want to build up those skills, jab that subscribe button and punch that bell so we can notify you when we have a new video coming out. The question for the day is, are there any patterns or drill that you feel have enhanced your martial arts and made you become better? If so, leave your thoughts at the bottom of the comments so we can have a big discussion about it and maybe learn something from it. This first section of Hubud is going to be on the empty-handed portion of it. Hubud basically means to tie in or tie up someone's hands. This Filipino style exercise for the martial arts is basically to keep your hands in contact and directing the weapons away from you that might be attacking you. For the most part, many people in Kali and Escrima practice this. These drills are basically taught as a sensitivity style drill and later on adding weapons of varying types for them. There are many variations in types that have been adapted from different styles of martial arts, but the basic premise remains the same. Remember, drills are nothing more than predetermined patterns of movement, the purpose of which is to learn the position of angles and sensitivity, specifically tactile sensitivity. The intention of this is to feel some control and degree of movement of the opponent's attack to the point where we essentially trap them or control them as much as possible. This exercise is not cut in stone as it would be like for katas or forms in other martial arts, but are based on relative changes based on circumstance of the time. Hubud basically has a three-step sequence. The first one is called receiving. Since receiving is the first thing that initially happens in self-defense, this is basically done by blocking or parrying, or gunting some people call it, as the opponent attacks as it comes into the defender, and more often than not is controlled by a secondary hand coming in. Once the block and the beginning of the control come into action or in play, then begins the redirection of the technique. It's basically used to push the technique off center line and then to maintain some type of control or trap. This can help us get the attacker off balance or be able to attack vital areas which are opportunistic areas that have been opened up by this maneuver. The last part, of course, is returning, which is to basically share with the partner the same attack that they just did on you so they can also train. This way we can understand how to control incoming and outgoing forces effectively. As we've stated, there can be many variations of Hubud that can be done. The one we're using here today is just a basic standard you'll see throughout the many different martial arts styles that practice it. As a practitioner uses it and becomes familiar with it, it can be changed for the various fighting ideals that a person has for their own style of the martial arts, such as hand techniques and weapons. We're basically showing you the hand techniques here before we get started to see how simplistic it really is. I find these actions are not much different than the chi sao that is done by Wing Chun, which is sometimes known as sticky hands. Here I'm showing you what basically is called a high Hubud. As you can see here, there's a block with a parry on the underneath side. Now, a lot of people don't realize that parry underneath prevents you from having the technique come around your arm or through. The only thing that they can do is pull back or pull up. Using this parry, they can redirect the attack across the center line and then trap the arm in that position. Once this position has been established, then the defender becomes the attacker by throwing the same exact technique at their partner to be able to use it. So let's go and look at what it looks like there. It's a good idea to practice Hubud on both sides, or both hands I should say, to help you understand your movements and techniques and build on your coordination and help you to become better ambidextrous. This also helps you into keeping your timing and rhythm. Hubud is very much a rhythm exercise drill that you speed up and then break at some point to do an attack. Now, when building up to speed, always start from slow and go faster and faster as it goes up. But for now, we're going to talk about just basically doing it slow so you can learn it. If you continue to do this drill, it'll build up your muscle memory and help your eyes to see the techniques coming in a lot better and quicker, whether it be for self-defense, free sparring, or simply weapons training. It'll also work on your reactivity as well as building up your speed. As you can see with the first set that we were doing there, we were swinging out pretty far in a demonstrative action. We're basically just trying to cover the direction of the attack for this part. We will cover in a few moments how to shorten up this little technique, because that'll actually help you see things faster and shorter. Because in a real street situation, situation. Techniques don't come from out of the blue where you have an easy chance at blocking them. This is just to give you a basic idea and the patterns you need to use. As you can see with the second one, this gets inside close to your opponent. And as you're doing that, you could actually, at this point, break up and change the speed to be able to get inside. The first one to do it without the other recognizing it or seeing it can often maintain and get a point first. But we'll cover that another time. We just want to learn the basic pattern here. We're showing you different angles here just to give you an idea and to help you memorize the pattern. Although it's not difficult, it can be confusing with the many hand factors that are prevalent. This will help you to develop your coordination so you can further build up that speed and possibly your own reactivity. Once the confidence level of both partners has become comfortable, the drill will be slowed down and sped up. At this point, you can then go in and add your own techniques in between each of the movements. You can usually do it without relatively much thought about the blocking and the returning of the attack. This is very good in helping you in a real-life stressful situation that when you're pushing yourself to build up your speed and confidence level, it could boost you enough that it might even help you when it comes time for self-defense. You need to also keep your eyes forward and use your peripheral vision in doing this. This will help you to learn to ascertain the techniques coming in without having to look at the techniques directly. Focus on what I call infinity and look straight out past the opponent for miles and miles. I have put a video out there online if you want to see it on how to focus your eyes, if you guys want to understand a little bit more. Sometimes the blocking we use is called gunting, or sometimes known as scissor attack. The reason behind this arm coming in and covering in this pattern to keep weapons from traversing outside of the area you want them to be in before you redirect. So this pattern's important to help things not become hazardous or dangerous when you're trying to actually practice, or in real life. And in many cases, it's just dependent on the weapon. That is to say, almost immediately after the arm blocks from the first movement, the arm has to come up underneath to prevent the hand from going around. In later videos, when I show you clubs and sliding, it'll become apparent to you just exactly why you need to have this arm come in this way. And we'll cover that basically in section 2. But it's very important that you get this hand exercise down and make it become a part of you. And simply because this pattern can be used with any kind of single-handed weapon you can think of. I suggest that a person do this several weeks with their partners, get adjusted and acclimated to the speed up and slow down process of this pattern, then figure out how to implement empty-handed techniques for themselves. The slowing down and speed up process will actually help you feel the fluidity that you need to have with these techniques. It'll also build up your concentration so you can focus on what you need to get accomplished within these patterns. Now remember, these are drills, and as such, they could be used for real. Yeah, possibly, but they have to be modified sometimes depending on situations and circumstances. We'll try to talk about that again another time. Also, I'm showing here what we call a low hubud. Now, this is very important later on for like in knife fighting and all that. It can be important for open hand. We'll cover it a little bit more when we're practicing with knives and sticks. It's very important that you at least understand, possibly work with your partner on this, with the empty hand down at the lower end of it. It can be very confusing because it's mirroring your mind. So wait a week or two till you've practiced the high hubuds before you ever try to attempt working on the low hubud. Now, like anything else, remember, be careful when trying new ideas or anything to implement it into your own martial arts style. This is for your sake and your partner. Wear some sort of safety goggles once you get to that. So I'm telling you ahead of time, get yourself a pair of safety goggles once you start to work with weapons and stuff. Maybe a helmet or two, depending on what you intend to do. I can't tell you how to do your own personal techniques in that, but you understand. Just be safe. I can't stress it enough that you need to be safe. Make sure you work with several partners, but work with one specifically that you can trust and try new techniques and ideas, and you know it's not going to hurt you. When you're working with beginners, it's a little harder and slower because they're just not confident in what they're trying to do. So therefore, if you're having a technique you want to try, do it with somebody you train with quite often so they can understand what's going on. Beginners might get scared and you might accidentally hurt them. So I hope this has been a help in understanding hubud. And we'll be covering sticks and knives and how to implement them properly in a future video. So I hope you can keep a watch out for when they come out. And don't forget to like us and share us with your friends and family that might like martial arts. Let them know what we've got going here so we can build Shihan's dojo up further. Also, the question of the day. Are there any patterns and drills you feel enhance your martial arts to help you become better? Don't forget to comment on this or tell us some things you'd like to see on this channel or what we might want to improve. Because our goal is to help you in your martial arts. And we'll see you again here on Shihan's Dojo.